and welcome to a special 2016 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Show. I'm Tom Moore from VikingFans.com, and today for the third consecutive year, we're pleased to have your Minnesota Vikings General Manager Rick Spielman join us to talk about some of the new roster additions to the team. Rick, welcome back to the Long Ship.
Well, thanks for having me on again. It's always when I get on your show that it's time to kind of shut it down a little bit, and summer's around the corner.
Sounds good. I'm glad I'm the mark for summer vacation, and I gotta ask you, after a whirlwind 3 days of the draft and all the time up to it, what was that one thing you did yesterday on Sunday to take a breath and unwind?
Well, we actually didn't take much of a breath. It was, we're getting ready for our rookie mini camp. We put together, a depth chart for that. I think we have 40 guys coming in on a tryout basis from around the country. Guys that we found in that camp were the Adam Thielens of the world, the Marcus Sherrills of the world, were guys that came in for that camp that weren't under contract, that we actually signed out of it. And then after we worked through that all day yesterday, my wife had a pretty good honey-do list since I haven't seen her in about 3 months.
There you go. So you're doing the lawn and doing the mulch outside.
Yeah, I did the lawn, mulch, and did a lot of things yesterday. I couldn't wait to get back to work this morning.
There you go. We'll make sure she doesn't hear that, so she cuts in on that list. Well, Rick, I got to tell you, the NFL Draft's become one of those television events that rivals the rating for the other league's playoff games. And, fans are now accustomed to seeing those faces of strange college football players' faces as they wait for that call to come in to see if somebody's going to take them. And, I know most only see the reactions of the first-rounders, but I'd like you to try and recall, for all the fans listening, what it was like for you. What were the emotions that you felt when you were coming out of Southern Illinois and you were waiting as a linebacker and you waited for that call to come inviting you to a training camp in 1987?
I'm still waiting for it, to be honest with you. No, it wasn't the same jumping up and down my brother did when he was drafted by the Detroit Lions in the second round. But no, it's just a great feeling, a chance that you get an opportunity to at least go on and try to make it at the next level. The thing that I saw a ESPN special on Mackenzie Alexander, and that gives fans a pretty good idea of, they did a special on him when he got the call, and actually I was talking to him when he got the call, and to see his reaction, that'll give you a pretty good sense of what it's like for those guys to get that call.
You talk about your chance, and last year when we spoke, you said that you always carry a blank free agent contract in your briefcase. In the event you get a rash of injuries at the linebacker position for the Vikings, and you have to sign yourself. So with that in mind, Rick, what is it that you see in the new Viking draft choices, Control Brothers and Stephen Weatherly, that makes them better than you and keeps you from getting your shot in the NFL?
One, they don't have a hip replacement, so that gives them an upper hand right away.
Yeah. Well, see,
and two, that's why he keeps
leg up.
And two, Scott Treadwell's still on our staff, so I'm behind him. And three, my brother calls every year, so I'm way down the pecking order now.
Gotcha.
But both of those kids we were very excited to get in the third day. Kendricks Brothers is just very productive. I had an opportunity to see him play in the rain when they played Mississippi State on a Thursday night. I remember charting the game, and he must have had about 12, 14 tackles. He had a blocked kick that game. You watch the tape, he's productive every tape you put on. And then we go down to the Senior Bowl, and he's the most productive linebacker down there in the game. So a little bit undersized, may not run as well as you want, but at that position, the most important thing is the instincts and the ability to find the ball. And this kid has very good instincts and really can locate the ball. And even though he didn't run as fast, you never see a guy beat him to the sideline when he's in chase. And I try to use that a little bit. My brother, he never ran real fast. I was always the fastest of the brothers, but I couldn't change direction worth of crap. So,
yeah.
But Kendricks, he's very similar. Is that if you get a jump on a ball and he sees and reacts things so quickly, he just never gets beat.
The last year when we talked about Eric Kendricks, a lot of the same things were said, smaller type linebacker, but the instincts and kind of playing downhill a lot. It sounds like the same thing with Control.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's the athlete that Kendricks is, but he has similar instincts to him.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, when you get into that first round, it's fairly common knowledge the Vikings were in need of a wide receiver somewhere in this draft, and the consensus was that there were really 4 wide receivers that were really first-round talent in the 2016 draft class. And so what I wondered was, when you started to see a run on the position there about mid-round, were you concerned that your guy wouldn't be there when you were on the clock at number 23? And if so, did you give any consideration at all into trading up?
No, I thought if we stayed patient through the first round, that our player would fall to us. I know Coleman went early to the Browns, I think at the 15th pick or right there in the middle there. And then when Houston and Washington kind of dociled a little bit and changed spots, and then you saw two more go, I knew there were still three on the board, so we were going to get one of the three. And the one that fell to us, we were very excited to get him because that's the guy that we really felt could come in and help our ball club.
You talk about that, and the fan base is always excited about new players that join the team, but the average fan really is not a draftnik. They're not a talent evaluator. For somebody like that, what is it that's different about Treadwell that makes him an upgrade at the positions, and maybe what are the things that he brings the Vikings that's going to help this passing attack be more explosive than a season ago?
Well, I think we went back and watched all of 14 tape on him before he had a pretty devastating injury to his lower leg. And when you watch the 14 tape on him, there was no question that he was going to be a top receiver in the draft. And then coming off of that injury, started out a little slow, probably got his confidence back about halfway through the season. And then, the end of the season, he was playing like the same player we saw in 14. And I think he ended up with 3 touchdown catches in their last bowl game. The one thing that he does bring is he's a big man. He has a large catching radius. He plays faster on tape than what his time speed was, and it also gives the quarterback confidence where if he knows he's got a big target that's going to win contested situations most of the time, he's going to go ahead and put the ball up there to give that receiver a chance to make plays. And Treadwell has shown that through his career, even in tight coverage. He is so massive and has such a large catching radius that he can block out the defender and make those catches. And then that rapport with a quarterback continues to grow as that confidence grows in that relationship.
We talk about large catch radius. That's a Kyle Rudolph, be able to reach anything you can get to. And it's exactly what you say. As Teddy Bridgewater looks to take the next step in his progression, it sounds like it's that trust in a receiver that lets him throw it and maybe throw him open, if you will, and really trust him to be a little bit like a basketball player to block out.
Right, and that's the biggest thing for young quarterbacks as they learn. Is that they're not going to be as open as they are in college, and you just have to go ahead and trust that. And that doesn't come overnight. That is a relationship that's built over time. And we have a very young group of receivers that are growing together with Teddy, and hopefully these guys will be together for a while where that rapport will continue to grow.
Round 2 rolled around, you turn to the defensive side of the ball and pick Mackenzie Alexander out of Clemson. We talked about him a little bit earlier. How long after you drafted Laquan Treadwell did defensive-minded head coach Mike Zimmer start getting in your ear about going to the defense?
Oh, he did it. We just kind of followed the board, and what we felt was up there was at the best value. And when he was when we got down to I think it was our 54th pick in the second round, and he was still sitting there, we thought it was just such great value. You can never have enough good corners in this league. I know probably over 60% of the time you're going to face a lot of 3 and 4 wide receivers now. So that nickel position, or you're going to have at least 3 corners on the field almost most of the game. And he has the ability to not only play outside, but yet we think he has the ability to slide inside and be a nickel as well. So great confidence. He's got a little bit of that savvy you look for in a corner. He has very good cover skills. People dinged him a little bit from not having any interceptions, but every week he was put on the best receiver on the opposing team. And Coach Zimmer's motto for the DBs is, don't let your man catch the ball. And I don't think he's given up a touchdown catch in 23 games. And really, when you watch him play man coverage, he really does a great job not letting the receiver catch the ball.
And we keep on hearing he's a really, really strong work ethic guy. And, he fell. A lot of draft publications said this guy's like the 19th best player in the entire draft. And it's got to surprise you. I mean, does the draft really ever unfold the way you expect it to once you get into round 1?
After you get into round 1, then it starts to go where teams start to really have different flavors on different players, and they see things differently and how they're going to fit in their schemes, and that's the exciting part of the draft is you spend months and months of preparation, getting the draft board set, and then trying to anticipate what's going to happen. and the anticipation of being 2 picks away and a guy potentially falling to you, and you have that guy targeted. That's the exciting part of the draft for us.
No doubt. After you traded the 3rd pick away, you got a couple of draft choices next year to kind of stock up, and even a draft choice this year to give you some maneuverability. But in that 4th round, you went to the offensive line. I know that was an area you've tried to upgrade in the offseason through free agency and here, and you took Western Michigan's Willie Beavers. And I'm curious, he played tackle in college, but I've heard a lot of people say he might be slotted at guard. Where's the right position for him in the NFL?
I think our coaches will figure that out. We'll probably look at him at both tackle and guard. I think we'll probably start him out at guard. When Tony Sperano was brought in and hired as our offensive line coach, he had specific traits that he wanted in his offensive lineman. And this kid is a big physical kid. We call it, and Tony refers to it as the dent factor. When he hits someone, does he dent them or does he move them once he makes contact with them? And watching him play this year, his 2 best games might have been the 2 biggest opponents, Ohio State and Michigan State, out at left tackle. And then down at the Senior Bowl, we watched his progress. He played some tackle. They moved him inside. He played some guard, and he showed that he does have some position flexibility. He's a big kid that's a good athlete, that's very explosive on contact. Now, technically, he's got a lot of work to do, and Tony loves to work with projects like that, but we think he has a bright future down the road.
The one that a lot of the media has talked to you about is the intriguing draft choice of German wide receiver Moritz Boehringer. And what I really want to know is, everybody's a GM this time of year. They all think they know better than the 32 GMs.
They're a GM during the season when they're playing fantasy football, too. They used to all want to be coaches. Now they're all GMs.
Absolutely. Well, they're moving up in the world. And so the key is, what I wanted to know from you is, how do you evaluate a guy like that who most likely has played against inferior talent, hasn't played college football in the U.S.?
I have a very good source that I trust that gave us a heads up on this player right after the combine. And they said there's a very athletic kid that's extremely talented in the German league. He's never been over here. You're going to love his height, weight, and speed. So we started kind of monitoring it. We started watching some of the YouTube that was out there on him. When he came over the States to start working out before the draft. In fact, we thought if he wasn't draft eligible, we were going to try to sign him right away. We were going to try to bring him here to Minnesota and get him under contract. Mm-hmm. But the NFL made him draft eligible, so he had to go through the process. So I had a scout go down. He had dinner with him the night before. He went out and just blew his workout away. We watched the tape of that workout. After that workout, and after myself and Coach Zim and our coaches watched it, we flew him up here to our top 30 dinner. Our coaches spent a whole day with him just seeing how much knowledge he does have about football, how intelligent he was. There was no question when you walk through the room that just his physical stature, he looks like an NFL receiver. And then he had another workout after our top 30 visit, and worked out extremely well again. So we had him on our board up there when we got into the 6th round. He was one of the top-rated players on our board left, and felt it was a minimal risk for potentially a big reward.
Sure, and I'll tell you, Saturday had to be a little bit of a unique slice of reality television for you when you saw Mike Zimmer and Mike Mayock talking about him potentially going to the Vikings before you picked him. And I got to ask, does it bother you at all that you were tipping your hand to somebody and somebody might jump in front of you?
Yeah, no, we were like, geez, shut the heck up. It's like, that's our secret guy. And all of a sudden they got him on the damn TV, and we're sitting here watching. What the heck they got him on the set for? He's supposed to be hidden away somewhere. So, but no, that was an interesting 6th round because we made some moves in the 6th round too. He fell to us, and we took him because I didn't think, and a couple of teams have actually called us and said, good thing you took him at that point, because we had him targeted in the lower 6s and even in the top of the 7th round. So we just felt that was the right time to take him.
You talked about everybody in the offseason, now they want to be a GM. It sounds like Mike Zimmer wanted to be that. He just forgot to make the pick first before he started talking about it.
That's why he coaches.
There you go. Well, I did tell you, Rick, as we close out our discussion today, I know you've been either a scouting personnel position or GM for over 25 years. And in your experience in watching these young players come through trying to break into the pros, what's the most difficult transition for them to become NFL players?
I think the biggest thing is that now they're competing against other players that are as good or better athletes than them. And the biggest thing that I see, and I've experienced over the years, sometimes it's not going to be the physical ability. It's the ability to handle things mentally with the playbook that's being thrown on you and how quickly you can adapt, and also the technique that the coaches are teaching, because you can have the raw and be the best athlete possible, but if you're not learning the playbook or if you're not developing from a technical standpoint, you're going to get passed by. And that's the biggest thing up in our league, I think, with these guys the adjustment they have to make when they come in here. And we have a great coaching staff. As I said, I've been in the business for 26 years, and this is the best coaching staff I've ever been around as far as developing young talent.
Well, I'll tell you what, that gets fans excited as really the season starts now, and that brings us to the end of the special Vikings draft recap. And Rick, we want to thank you for joining us today to talk to the fans really about the personnel additions over the last couple days, and we look forward to seeing what you got next.
Yeah, no, we're very excited about, what we were able to accomplish through free agency and signing our own players back, and then now adding another layer of draft kids into this. And it's going to be a very competitive camp, and there are going to be guys that may not make this roster, but you'll see them playing for other teams on Sunday. So, but very excited about everything we've been able to accomplish this off season. And there's so many different factors, but we're starting back from square one, just like 31 other teams are. So it's a whole new year, and everybody's coming in with the right attitude, and hopefully we'll continue to have success.
Again, Rick, I appreciate your time today, and I want to remind fans to get all your up-to-date information on the Vikings on Vikings.com or on Twitter @Vikings. So long, everyone.